Hi, in this video we're going to talk about how does this new React hooks work. So first thing first, you need to make sure you have React 16.8 at least. So make sure you have this version, and then let's just dive in. I have a very simple component here, class component, and as you can see I have a constructor, and in the constructor I instantiate or initialize a state, and then within our render method I just try to change the state by calling the handle change. Very simple and familiar. So now that we have these things, let's just quickly test it. As soon as I start typing, let me just quickly go also to the React, and from here I need just to look for the normal state. So I have a state and the default value is Moho, so we're going to change it, Morgan, and as you can see things change here and also there. Very straightforward, but we are going to use a new React hook. It's very simple and easy in our code. In order to do all of those things, we are going to create a new component, and let's just quickly call the component useStateHook.js, and in here we need to import React from React, and I think because we need the nav bar, which as I wrote it before, it's very simple. We're going to just add the nav bar there too. So I'm going to copy this part, bring it here, and then export a default function. So export default function, and let's quickly use it. Just call it useStateHook. And if you're going to have the same return method, so I'll copy that one as well and just come here, paste it here, and we are going to work on this part now. So now because we have a function component here, or stateless in this example, we don't have any access to a state. And in order to use the new hook, we are just going to bring the useState, which is new from React, and then let's just use it. So on top of the file, we can say const, and we need array, and we are going just to call it, for example, name and set name, and then we are going to use the hook useState. State, and let's just call in this one Moho. I'm going to explain exactly what are they. So in this example, basically we are using the useState hook, and we are setting, and we just call it name, and the initial value or default value is Moho, and then in order to change that, if we go there, this does set state and then change the name, but now we don't need to do anything. We're only just going to call set name. So let me just quickly go there and update it. So we have a function here, and as you can see, it's handle change. So function handle change is going to accept E. So if you're going to update the state name, we don't need to write this dot set state anymore. We're just going to write set name and give the value, and the value is very simple, target dot value. Very simple. And then we are going to use handle change, and now we have the value through names. believe it or not, this is all of it. We don't need to write any more class. Everything is a function and everything is this much. So this code, I'll just open them side by side in order to show it there. Open and write. So this is our class component and this is our function component. They exactly do the same things, and as you can see, this is much simpler and cleaner. So let's quickly check if the code actually works. So in order to do all of these things, I'm going to add the useState hook here in a router. So now that we have this route, we can go and quickly check it. So I'm going to use a state hook. It's the same thing, but as you can see, it has changed. And if I go to use a state hook, so it's a different component. Now I've got the hooks here, not the state anymore. So as you can see, I've got the hook, and as soon as I start typing, it changed there, and it changed there as well. So I can type anything else, and I've got the value here. So this is useState. So the next example is basically, let me just open the file quickly. So we have a class component did mount, and then from there we are going to just fetch some users, a user in this example. So we're going to fetch a user and then just get the username and then show it in a page. If you open this one in a browser, basically it will just return a JSON object. If I go to the normal life cycles, as you can see, we are showing the username. So, and if I look for that one, we are having a state username and we are setting the state. So we're going to write this class component with the new React hook. So I'll go and create another file called useEffect hook.js. And before doing anything else, I'm going to quickly add it in a route as well. So now that we have this route as well, and we can navigate and see what do we have. At the moment we have error because our file is basically empty, so we can just quickly go and bring the React. I'm just going to close this one. So we have the React and we are going to have a function. Let's quickly export it as well. I'm going to call it useEffect hook. And inside there, so we have just the return method. So I'm going to return it. So we don't need this space. Quickly copy this part and paste it here. We also need the nav bar, so I'm going to get the nav bar, and we also need the axis. So I'll just bring everything here. We don't need to go there and come back all the time. So if you remember, so let me just close this part and open this one on the right side. So this is the original code, and we're going to rewrite it with the new React hook. So if you remember, we are going to use a state. So I'm going to bring the state as well. State hook. So it is useState. And because we are using useState, I can easily just type here const username and set username. So this is the function we're going to use to update this, and you can call it anything. I'm just using set because just for the convention, but you can use it. You can just write anything here in order to update this or set. And we're going to say useState, and by default let's just call it empty, so there is nothing there, null. And now I'm just going to use effect hook. We still see the error, of course, because there is no state anymore. This is only going to be username. Good. Username is empty, nothing there. Now that we have this one, we can just go and write this part of the code with a new React hook, which is called useEffect. So now we have useEffect. UseEffect is a function. Inside there, we are going to call another function, just arrow function in this example. And from here, inside our function, we're just going to call our axis. So I'll go and copy all of it. And just a little bit drag it here. Okay, now we're going to get the user with the ID 1. And then we have the username. Let's just call it name. And we are not going to set state anymore. We have this function. So I'm just going to basically say set username, and this is it. Just the name. Now we have the name, and very quickly we should see the result there. And that's all. We don't need to do anything else. Basically, we are going to run this one whenever we have component did update and also component did mount. So I'm just going to reorder them. So we're going to call whenever we have component did mount and component did update. This is the same. And at the end, if we're going to check for the component will unmount, we need to return just a function. So we're going just to return, and here, so well, I'm going just to console.log, nothing more. Mounted. Good. So this is very good if we have subscription, for example, to a database or something, then we are going to unsubscribe from that listener or database connection in this return. This part is not mandatory. If you have unsubscribe, you're going to write it here. So I'm just going to also here unsubscribe. We have the unsubscribe here, nothing important. And we can also come and say, do not run this code all the time unless the name, or in this case, the username change. So if you can see, we have a function here. If you pass the second argument here, and we can basically say, so basically we are checking if the username has changed, then come and run the code. Otherwise, do not run the code. So let's go and quickly check it. I'm going to refresh. As you can see, we have component did mount, and then unmounted, and then component did update. So we are running the code, nothing more, because the username is not changing at all. So we are not running the code more and more. Now we are using the new useEffect hook from React, and also useState hook as well. So as you can see, nothing really different, but this is basically these two next to each other. So we are using the class component here, we are using the function component, if you want to call it, and if I just remove these comments, probably our code would be much cleaner and easier to read, and I really like this new way of writing code. There are a lot more to this hooks. You can have a custom hooks, you can have different types of hooks, which I would just recommend you to go and have a look at the React.js documentation. You can just see this hook new, a lot of new things there, and more details if you want to know more. But out of the box, these two are the well known one, and probably you're going to use these two very much. So I just explained what are they, how you can use them. Very simple, very handy. As you can see, useState. And if you're going to use anything like component did mount, component did update, component will unmount, then you can use useEffect hook, and it will handle everything for you. You don't need to write three different functions, three different life cycle methods, like as I explained. So you don't need to do any of them. You can write everything in one go, and job done. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you found it interesting. Please let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to put a lot of new videos soon.